All right, it's 7, so we'll get started. So we'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, welcome everybody. We'll review the agenda just briefly. What we're going to do today is, before we open the public hearing, I'll ask the board members if they review the minutes. No old business, and then we're going to have one additional informal review of 26 Grove Street, an area variance that we'll talk about with the applicant after we go over the first item on the agenda, which is the use variance. So with that, I'm going to start out with the minutes from actually April 14th. So has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? I have. The only correction that I see on there, I circled and showed there was just a date change on the top that needs to be changed. But other than that, I don't have any other changes. So I have a motion to accept the minutes with the edit that I...
Yep, so moved.
Seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That's it. Anything else to discuss before we open the public hearing? No? Okay, so we'll open the public hearing. The public hearing tonight's going to be for a use variance at 2827 Cold Springs Road. And there was a public hearing notice. And Michelle, I want to actually get one clarification on the notice, because I know the notice went out, I think, on May 12th. Or actually, that's when the application went out. I'm not sure what the date of the application was, or the public notice went out on a certain date, but then there was an update, right, on the website. And I just want that noted in the minutes, that the date of the public notice that was provided, and then the subsequent update that was done on the website. Bob, is that okay? Because
Yes.
Because the public notice originally had this dated for last month?
Right, and the date of publication, you got the original notice.
Yeah.
Yes, and I put it in there a second time.
Okay, so just as long as we reflect what's going on with that, I would appreciate that, so. And again, what we're gonna review tonight is, we'll have the applicant go over the use variance for a conversion basically of a building. It was a commercial building, daycare center that sits in an R1A zoned area. And what the applicant wants to do is convert that to an R2 use variance, correct? That's one that I was going over the application a couple of times, because the use would be R2. It would be, is that what we're doing?
Right, it's just a multifamily because they've asked for 3 units.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the application, it wasn't just crystal clear, but it seems fine. I think that's what we're doing. We're going from R1A, or looking for relief, to R2. So with that, we'll go from there. And what I would like to do is, again, welcome the applicant again to discuss. We had this a couple of months ago. We had a quick discussion about the concepts, or what we wanted to actually have you be able to share today at the public hearing. And those items are going to be, again, the fact that, again, the economic use of the property under the current zoning isn't viable, that the hardship created is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the district or the neighborhood, and the variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, and that the hardship wasn't self-created. So those are kind of the key components that we want to kind of hear you talk about, and we'll ask questions, or the zoning board members will ask questions. And there's a couple things I want to go over with Bob when we get to the last one.
And you may also want to ask if there's anyone here in the audience who wants to speak for or against.
And I will.
Yep.
Yep, I will do that. I was actually going to do that after we got an introduction to what was going on from the applicant. So who's presenting?
open.
Yeah, but you open the public hearing.
You just start
You
up.
can do the first and second.
Everybody.
Oh, did I not open the public hearing? Thought I did. Motion,
Okay, you do
motion,
now.
motion
Motion.
open.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we submitted all the documents for you, and the board has all our big file. So we, Dennis, Sick, and myself, and Yoka, we're seeking to approval to convert the existing structure located 2827 Gold Street Road, Baldwinsville, into 3 independent residential living apartments, fully accessible for individuals with a reduced mobility. We strongly believe that conversion is not only the most reasonable and viable path forward, but it's most responsible and community-minded solution to this property. Let me begin with the financial reality. So we were all distributed the financial estimates that we calculated the 3 options. Option to restructure, rebuild, demolish, or convert. What I wanted to emphasize that the existing building is a structurally sound masonry building that is actually rare in the area. Not maybe in the area, but it's rare. Usually it's wood constructions. And that was previously used for commercial purposes for many, many years. As you know, the last use was daycare. So what we're asking is, in order to bring into the compliance as a single-use family residence, what we have as a current permitted zoning, R1E, that will require the complete interior demolition and restructure and full-scale redesign of the property. And considering the size of the property is 3,500 square feet, it's going to be a very large property. So the cost to do it will be extremely high, and as a result, the rent for this price or resale value it will be also high, and it will be beyond the range that typically goes for the neighborhood. So, and plus the population that lives around the Baldwinsville, we're trying to find something affordable for the population, and for the higher pricing housing like this, it will probably, the people who can afford such a high priced housing, they usually look for this new constructions. They're not gonna go look for like rebuilt property. That's from number one. So therefore, from the market standpoint, there is a very little demand in the area in a single residence that this size and price range. So therefore, it would sit vacant, or probably is going to become financial burden. So we won't be able to rent it, no probably to sell, and of course we're trying to avoid that the property sits vacant and deteriorates from underuse. So another calculation that we did is a demolition of this property and rebuilding entirely new property according to the zoning. That presents even greater financial loss. And again, a new structure would justify high rents and resale price to recover that investment. And we find it absolutely unreasonable to demolish structurally sound masonry good property. So, and if let's say it's demolished and rebuilt, and it's built the house that is going to drive the cost price very, very high, it's going to be unreasonable for the neighborhood or for the potential buyers or for the public interest in general. So now let me explain why we propose the conversion into 3 accessible apartments, and we find that it's the most practical, sustainable, and socially viable use of this property. So we made a market analysis and looked around the county's requirements, and we found that the proposed conversion is meeting a critical needs for the housing in the area. So it's a documented shortage of housing units, and especially for the population with the reduced mobility. So for the reduced mobility population, there is not many housing available. So our plan addresses that directly, creating 3 thoroughly designed units that will be fully accessible for reduced mobility people. And we're not asking for large-scale development, so it's a modest, low-impact transformation that we're planning to do. Will, first of all, create affordable units. Secondly, it will reduce the energy cost. And of course, it will be welcomed in the community because we hear that the people with the reduced mobility are looking for the homes, but unfortunately, there's not many available. So what we are planning to do, of course, as I said already, we're preserving the structure, which is very, very sound structure. We're upgrading the system, lighting, HVAC system, to reduce energy consumption. Because at this point, honestly speaking, we just received the National Grid bill. Everything is turned off, but it's still dragging some consumption of electricity for some reason. So that needs to be addressed as well. So our plan will keep the property consistent with the residential character of the neighborhood, and while also enhancing environmental and visual points. Because right beside us is 2 units housing, like I guess three of them, 2 units, and both of them. So also, we work hard to follow all the process responsibly. We cooperated with Access CNY and Onondaga County housing initiatives to design and execute the correct layout for fully accessible apartments. So we're not going to take a piece of paper and draw it ourselves. We bring in the professionals. And I would like to mention for the application, as you just mentioned, Mr. Zakon, the zoning code that we took for initial application, we drew directly from our tax bill that I was stating. Com 1, which is commercial 1, GB, general business. So, and as at our first meeting with the zoning board, Mr. Baldwin clarified that we should pursue a use variance instead of asking the rezoning, how we initially thought, and that's what we follow his guidance.
That commercial zoning was documented on what?
On the tax bill.
On the tax bill? What's
Yeah,
interesting?
on the tax bill. Yeah, it was written Com 1, which is commercial 1, GB, general business. So, we have submitted all required documents, corrected minor omissions, and responded to every request for clarification. We're not asking for special treatment, we're simply asking for permission to make reasonable, responsible use of the property in a way that directly benefits to the community. Just to summarize it up, this proposal is economically justified, as alternative as financially unreasonable, socially responsible, environmentally mindful, and also, as I understand, legally appropriate through the variance process recommended to us by Mr. Baldwin. So, in addition, what I was about to say about your small community, I'm an outsider, as you know. I come with a fresh eye. So I see some things that I can't compare to other places. And I will tell you that considering the size of the community, I strongly believe that investments and attraction to the community will bring more visitors to the village. These visitors will come with some footprint and spendings that's going to help the local community, local businesses. For example, if you see the towns that they took unused commercial buildings and converting them into residential, they also have that profit from bringing people in, opening new businesses, creating because when people come from outside of the area, they usually bring the gang with them, their own people. The family visit and all. So your place become more known. I don't want to say there's a lack of history here in Baldwinsville. I learned a lot, but still. So what we want to create in the village is just a welcoming environment, thoughtful for everybody. Make sure that we also be able to provide the housing for the people most vulnerable and the people who cannot socialize. That's why we are not suggesting to convert our property to one single, fully accessible residence, because the people with the mobility with the reduced mobility, they need to socialize. So they need to make sure there is somebody is looking after them, and that usually it's your close neighbor. But the closest neighbor and the people who can share their thoughts, their life struggle, they will understand. Because when completely sound person will listen to the person, like let's say in a wheelchair, they might not understand each other because they're not living the same experience. So that's why we projected to create a common area in the back so they can socialize. We're gonna put the effort in creating very nice backyards so they can just be together, And of course, in any case of any help needed, they will be able to rely on each other. So also what I distributed to you additionally, we did receive 2 letters from Baldwin Hill community and also from the doctors from CNY, Access CNY. So they said that whatever we try to do, it's very reasonable.
Yeah, and these 2 letters, Michelle will put as part of the record.
Yes, I gave the information. I gave her my copies. So let me see where I stopped. Right. So I also would like to take a moment to address the language that was used in the public notice. Actually, before I saw that letter, I came in front of my eyes, and what it was saying is, it was saying that's referring as the future changes of proposed facility for handicapped or disabled. It's not a completely correct description of requested changes. Actually, although we understand that might be a traditional zoning terminology, I don't know how you usually describe this issues, but it's important to recognize that individuals that live with reduced mobility, the reduced mobility term will be more accurate. So these individuals, as I said, they simply deserve an access to housing that supports their independence and dignity, allowing them to live fully independent lives when the environment is adapted to their needs. It's very, very important. So our proposed transformation of this building will offer exactly a respectful, safe, and inclusive residential space. We designed to improve individuals' daily life, and just to bring them closer to the community, because everybody will be able to visit them as well. So in other words, just to in opposite to the letter, the hearing announcement, I would like to clarify that, explain once again, that the use variance is required for the conversion of 3,500 square feet commercial building in 3 fully accessible residential units for independent living. So there is no nursing. It's just an independent living. So, and as I said, the people with mobility issues should never be left to live in isolation. They have to socialize. So bringing people together will just help the community, I believe. So I'd like also to briefly return to the procedural regulation of the application process. I believe that while is it appropriate to ensure that all the regulations are met, the process should not be made unnecessarily difficult or obstructive for the applicants. And specifically for those who are genuinely trying to improve the community. We are not here to know all the dots and T's in Code 360 or something else. We're here to ask the questions, and we want to hear and receive the help from the town hall in order to help not just us, any other applicants. We're not asking for just us. So I will tell you, I'm a public servant. I know what it means to be a public servant. Public servant means to serve a population. And if somebody asks me a question, I will never not give them an answer. I will give them an answer, give them references, give them a list of all needed documents, everything, until the last dot. So that's my personal. So, and in conclusion, I just want to say that our intention was always been to engage in good faith and trust in the process. We continue to prioritize collaboration over complications. We respectfully request to approve of this variance, allowing us to move forward with a project that will enhance the Baldwinsville community and its population.
May I add one comment? So I've had, this is a, much like the Red Mill Inn is, I've had a lot of people love the idea of someday, or even some currently, knowing that if their parent needed a place, you know, they live in Baldwin Hill or Clinton Heights or whatever, to be able to move their parent to a self-sufficient space that doesn't have any steps or whatever because they have a house that's not suitable, but they're not ready to go to nursing home or whatever. So as Red Mill Inn has fed a great need in the community and kept people in town, or somebody who lives in the community now doesn't have to leave the community, go into the city or somewhere else. So you know, as far as I'm concerned, there could be far more, you know, more of these units throughout the area, and they would be populated by local residents or families of local residents.
No, I absolutely appreciate that, and I appreciate the background and the outline of what was going on. But I do want to go into any questions that folks have. But before I do, there's a couple of things, just kind of orders of business. One of the other things I want to make sure of, and I did notice one of the letters came from probably an adjacent owner. I'm assuming the adjacent folks in the area got notification, individual notification. Mm-hmm. So, Michelle, just as we do, as part of the public hearing, just make sure those people that were notified under that process are listed. We used to read those individuals as far as I know. It's got to be quite a few because I think Rodney is right up against the parallel street behind us, behind 370, right behind.
Yes, it's the back to the Baldwin.
Okay. We talked to a number of the neighbors that reached out to us.
Okay.
We've had conversations with them.
They reached out to us after they received that hearing, the public notice.
Okay.
Did we get a letter from somebody in Baldwin Hill? I thought you said.
That's the one.
And did we get any other, did the village get any other input from other people? Or did we get any other correspondence of any kind, phone calls, emails? Yeah. Yeah, no.
Would it be possible to read the letters that you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
The first one basically is just, it's with a header, it says the Smoky Hollow community. It's actually Smoky, they're Baldwin Hill.
That's the resident of the Baldwin Hill. I don't know, she
Okay.
in her email, that was that logo.
But that's okay.
I just printed the email.
That's
Okay.
her work, I believe.
That's her work,
I
okay.
think she,
Very
now I
much.
see she resides on Runway.
Yeah, Tricia Albanese, and it says, to whom it may concern, I live in Baldwin Hill at 17 Runway. I'm in favor of the zoning changes needed to convert the building at 2827 Baldwin, or Cold Springs Road to facilitate the development of a 3-unit apartment building. I need to add that your description in the apartment community is incorrect. Handicap living facility for the disabled suggests that the facility, it will be a facility where admission standards are, I was going to ask this question anyway, I wanted to get clarification and you to provide some of that. And clinical care are well as operators by an agency. That is not the intent with this project. It's to offer apartments so needed to address the housing crisis for individuals with any types of disabilities. I suggest editing the project description to remove the word facility to more accurately describe the intent. I think we can do that in the minutes if we need to do that. So, and the other one is from Robert Weber, MD, and Margaret A. Turk, MD, 117 Hiawatha Trail. Dear Dennis, I'm ready to support your efforts to renovate the spaces to become accessible living apartments for those with disabilities, specifically mobility disabilities in Baldwinsville. As professors of medicine and rehabilitation at SUNY Upstate Medical University, we came to the area 36 years ago to grow healthcare services and support systems for people with disabilities. What has changed very little in this time is the availability of affordable housing or accessible housing throughout the community for individuals with significant mobility impairments. A particular positive feature of the proposed renovation is to have units in the proximity increases the opportunity for sharing needed support services, which has the potential for cost effectiveness and better availability of support if needed. Despite the Americans with Disabilities Act providing guidance for accessibility in communities, there continues to be a lack of recognition of the importance of the environmental accessibility obligations. As the U.S. population ages, we need this to continue to increase. Individuals with disabilities are an important part of the community and can contribute more to society. An increased availability of housing meets their needs. The concept of that most of us take for granted allows more community participation, including employment and local services. We'd be happy to talk to those interested individuals about the need for accessible housing in the area and the positive benefits of the project, and we're willing to provide other support to move your project ahead. Sincerely, Robert Weber. So those will be part of the record. So no other emails, no other voicemails, no other information other than those two letters, Michelle, that you know of? Okay. Comments? Yeah, so just ask that again. Again, if there's anybody here from the public to speak for or against, yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Dolores Rubino. I live at 37 Conway Drive. We back up to, we're kitty corner from the daycare center. First, I want to say to Annette and Dennis, thank you for buying the daycare center and planning the use for it, because it's really important to us, and I have a lot of vacant buildings. Annette, you talked about demolition, restructure, and redesign. I assume that's for the interior of the building?
What is our intent is to redesign inside. We're not touching outside structure. It's a very solid masonry structure. We're not redefining outside area, except we're reducing the target.
Okay.
We're increasing the green zone.
Like that?
We're going to work on some curb appeal. What concerns outside of the building, we will repaint it and make it a little bit more modern, looking like a community, just to blend in the community. And inside, we're going to do the full restructure, making the building in 3 apartments.
Yep.
Those apartments will be with the wider doors, with the calculated counters, so the wheelchair can go under.
Yep.
Will be showers, curved showers, everything that needed for the person with a reduced mobility.
Yeah, I have a brother with disabilities, so I understand. I also was wondering if you guys know how long you expect the construction to take, because like I say, we're
Unfortunately, we were not able to proceed further yet, because what was holding us from starting with the plans and contacting the construction companies as well, it's the approval.
Okay.
We will move rapidly once we get the
We
permits.
will try to make the ball rolling as fast as possible, of
Good.
course,
Good.
but it's not going to depend on us. But first and foremost, we need to have an approval. Then we're going to contact we already contacted a bunch of times. We're going to go to CNY, Access CNY, who's going to help us with absolutely professional redesign. So, as I said, we're bringing professionals who actually building the houses for reduced mobility people. So they know exact calculations and they know exact measurements.
Oh, I think they have to be on that, yeah.
Yes, absolutely, because when we're not in this position, we don't know what angle the wheelchair may put her on, so on and so forth.
Okay.
So-
And I have one question for the
Yes.
board. Will the change from commercial to residential zoning negatively impact our taxes or our assessments?
Well, the board can't really speak to that, but it really is not going to go from commercial. What's interesting about this is, while the tax bill may have said commercial, the property was zoned R1 residential.
This is on R1 residential.
Yeah, this is not a rezoning.
Oh, I thought it was rezoning.
Only the village board has the opportunity to rezone property.
Oh, I
This
thought it was
is a variance.
rezoning. I thought that's what it said in the letter, but I must have misread it. Thank you.
Do this.
Anybody else?
I've got a few questions. Go ahead. if
We don't
you
have
got some.
anybody else?
Yeah, anybody else in the audience or anybody else for or against have anything to say for this project? We good? Yep.
I just want to mention that I'm very much for a project like this. Our area does not have many people, much accessibility for people that are in wheelchairs, as a mother of a daughter in a wheelchair. So I was pretty excited to see that this could be a direction that our community starts going into.
And do you mind stating your name just for the record here?
Casey Wink, do you need my address? 37 Aspen Springs Drive.
Appreciate that. Anything else? So from the boards, the board members, questions? And one of the questions I was going to ask, I'm going to start with it if everybody's being a little bit shy, but you answered it to a degree. The options consider demolition and reconstruction, and
I calculated 3 options.
What was-
just to show the.
Yeah. I didn't see one just converting it to a single.
No.
that the first?
There are 3 calculations in there.
Was that one of them? 3 though?
There is no demand for a 3,500 square foot home.
We've got option A, option B, and, option A and option B, I'm sorry. No, option A and option B, that was a calculation if we don't go for the conversion, the one that we're asking. So.
Yeah, and again, the board members are just familiar with, again, I know this sounds silly, but it's, because I'm in favor of anything we can do to help anyone with disabilities too. It's not the question. The board is looking for the criteria that it looks at to say, okay, should the variance be granted on the criteria that we're
On the criteria that is financially unreasonable.
But that's one of them. And you already talked about that, so I don't need you to go repeat that, because I think that we got a couple of questions, or there may be some other questions there. But I just want the board to understand as we consider, what we've heard, have we heard all of the possible options? So if they're there, I want to hear what those are. Because really, we're looking at going from residential 1A to 2, and there's a couple of things that go along with it. When you bought the business, assuming it was commercial, assuming it was for a business district or whatever was going on, it was a daycare center. Does anybody know what it was before then? Because you mentioned the last meeting that
It was Noble Florist was there. There's a bakery, prior to that. At one point, it's divided already into 3 separate areas with 3 separate utilities.
Yeah.
So again, if that went to a single family house, that means they'd have 3 furnaces, 3 utilities. The way the layout is, it just.
No, that's what I wanted to understand, because the daycare, if people understand the prior use was a daycare center, they wouldn't envision 3 separate.
Well, they just left it in the hallway.
They just did the hallway.
2 6-foot walls out, and that made it, essentially those walls will be back, and then we'll reconfigure. They're going to be very large, spacious bedrooms that would have physical therapy equipment or whatever they need, they needed for that, or if they had somebody come in. So it just, there's not a 3,500 square foot house anywhere on 370, nor is there demand for a 3,500 square foot house on 370 that is very institutional inside with metal frame doors, just like here. And
If I may to add, let's say if we divide the 3,500 square foot, it's going to be still a pretty large apartments. There will be over 1,000 square foot apartments, which is very large, and that's why they will allow us to put wider doors, bigger bathrooms just for the square footage. But it's very reasonable to do reduced mobility accessible ADA, if you like, compliant apartments with the common areas in the back of the building and the front of the building, which is very, there is no elevations whatsoever around the building, there are no steps, it's all on the same level.
The result of this, because ADA compliant would have to be any new build, right? So any build.
ADA compliant, what they referring to, they usually refer to the public accesses.
Got it.
ADA compliant for another one that calls, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Waldman, it's HSA, Housing Standards, something, Association, something like this, for the people with a reduced mobility. So as a private owner of the property, we're actually not obligated to go and follow ADA compliant regulations. But however, we would like to create the common area in the back, and the common area we definitely will create as ADA compliant.
Yeah,
So the
with
people can socialize. That's my main issue, that the people with the reduced mobility, they reduce in social life because they are not capable on their own to leave their place, to go some places. For some, even very difficult to leave the apartment and maybe their car is adapted to their needs, but they cannot get to the car without somebody's help.
No one's building anything like this. It's not available anywhere. I mean, Red Mill Inn, obviously it's a wide door, automatic door, elevator, but the rooms are very small, very comfortable. They offer a lot of extra services, which is great. But the socialization, I think, is important too. Even two, the difference between 2 and 3 is having 3 neighbors who share, difficulties and make new friends and meet new families, and I think families will adapt to neighbors, and I think it creates a socialization that the 3, just from that point of view, not forget the economics, makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think if you can give a person freedom to move, to relocate on their own, that this is a very, very big issue. Remember the pandemics, we were all closed in the apartments. How did you feel? Nobody felt good, right? So I guess everybody now supposed to understand that it's very important to go out, to be able to exit anytime you want.
So when you purchased it, it was your understanding that it could be used for commercial?
We purchased with an understanding, and then it's also made almost immediately when we got the papers, because the purchase process was quite long as well, because the owner of that building was out of state owner, and it took us at least 3 months.
And we also did pursue daycare.
Yes,
and we
he
do have a
immediately
daycare.
posted on the Facebook, on Baldwinsville page, do we need another daycare? Is anybody looking?
And we do have a person that desperately wants to do daycare there, but we started this process, so we put them off. And the daycare is probably as equally as important as what we're doing, but I think they can buy another space for daycare, where this space, there's just very few spaces that are set up that could work so well for 3 individuals.
And the daycare center was vacant for more than 6 months anyway?
When we
3
purchased,
months,
when we purchased, it was 3 months vacant. At that point, we immediately posted everywhere as well, daycare or some, like, let's say, physical therapy, because the layout inside, as explained, it's a big building, divided in 3 sections already with the 3 back doors, 3 front doors and everything, and the long corridor right in between. So it could be used also for medical facilities at that point.
Yeah, I just want to remind the board though that after 6 months, of that not being a daycare, it would have defaulted into an R1 zoning anyway, so you'd have been back to the board even if it was going to be a daycare or something else.
Absolutely. So I did went to the website, I wrote the code 360 of Baldwinsville. So I saw that you allowed only 6 months or 18 months within 3 years. I don't know what it was exactly referring to, your 18 months. It was not very clear to me. And even though the 6 months will fall, even if we're going to start the renovations and there was no business operation within 6 months. So, but when we applied, we were just at the point of hitting 6 months, but we applied because we made a decision that this move will benefit the community the most.
I believe you said you talked to a daycare before the last time you were here, and the rent was going to be prohibitive, I think is what you're told.
No, we had several, but we had several, but we have one that's been chomping at the bits for 2 months now, and this thing got dragged out so far, that we thought we had an answer a couple months ago, so.
Other questions?
Yeah, so who helped you with like all the financials, the estimates and the timelines?
I did an estimates based on the information that is available from the local contractors, and I took, in some points, I would say I underestimate.
Okay.
Because the prices of construction and the labor are very, very, very high. As well, we provided the letter from Greg Hoover, who was in the building, and he verified all the estimates, and he said that the estimates, they were actually correct. His titles, he has lots of titles, I'm sorry. I couldn't remember all of them.
I have one more. What was your reason for purchasing the property originally?
What's that?
What was your reason for purchasing the property originally?
Well, to continue some business, some rentals that is going to profit actually the community. So we were not looking to give it to, we were approached to give it to some kind of a manufacturing things, as I mentioned on the first meeting. And we decided that it's not going to be very good for the community because you will have all the trucks and some bang bang overnight, early morning, some environmental impact as well with the idles and of the trucks, and we don't know what kind of chemicals or whatever they were about to bring into the building. So we wanted to keep the building safe and sound and profitable for the community.
And under the assumption that it was commercial, even before the village annexed it, and it was commercial for all those years, and it was multiple and designed as commercial. And I guess the 6 month rule, I mean, technically, the daycare that was in there, their lease is still in, they just quit paying the rent, so there's still a lease daycare in there, they just aren't operating.
If you said there was an interested daycare now,
Yeah.
would that work financially?
Yeah.
If we-
Yeah.
You had mentioned there are other multi-units housing
nearby?
Yes.
Close by?
So,
Yes, there are three.
There's five two-families. adjacent.
Oh, five, yeah.
And they're in the same zone?
They're just
R1
next
zone.
to.
They're all the
Yes.
same zone.
How do they
so-
get?
And there's an excessive amount of, the one that Vanderwater owns directly adjacent to it has an excessive size lot, so he's almost off our lot another 150 feet before his house. So I spoke with that, I spoke with the people who.
It's
have
literally
directly-
the next house and 5 houses in a row.
Yeah, I'm assuming those are all pre-existing non-conforming, but the bottom line is when we look at that, and we'll talk about that in a second, and she mentioned it already, that the characteristics of the neighborhood, you've got 5 multi-family homes right next to each
That
other.
Vanderwater had a fire in the house next door, if you recall.
Yeah.
And it cost them $680,000 just to fix the house. Yeah, I mean, so, if you look at that construction cost, the insurance company didn't pay for it. And he was out of pocket at the end of the day, he said quite a bit.
And as I said, my estimations are fairly low. I just took a very, very average amount. And the cost of the labor and the construction grows by day now, by day. It's, if not by hour.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to the economics, unless, and the board members or the contractors or other people, it's like, again, I think if you just can give us where you came up with the numbers. The numbers are clearly demonstrating, obviously it's not economical, it's just where they come from, so.
They came from the internet research.
Which we know is.
Everything's true on the internet.
There are very statistical standards, and these are conservative.
Other questions? Peg?
I guess my confusion, when you bought it, again, I'm going to go back to, it was commercial, it was not R1, and
Okay,
it was not in the village? When did it become the village?
Correct me, because I'm not aware of the year when the village converted this area to R1 zoning. So this house was built.
Pat Hubby had converted it to 3 commercial units when he bought it in 1980.
And at that time, there was no Baldwin Hill
There was no Baldwin Hill at that point.
at that point. And when the Baldwin Hill was built, the whole area was converted to R1 residential.
They just
And
moved
that
that.
house was part of this conversion. And it was grandfathered commercial.
That was Lisa back, we moved in 2006. And at that point, that was part of we were part of the village. So it's been at least that long.
Yeah.
Let me just interrupt for a second. The issue that you're discussing is of course self-created hardship.
Correct.
And the rule is that unlike an area variance for a use variance, if it is a self-created hardship, the board can't grant the use variance because this is a required finding. And the cases have determined, and this gets litigated from time to time, that where an applicant knew of the zoning and acquired the property and then had financial hardships and wanted to change the use, that is a self-created hardship. However, there is at least one case that has determined that where an applicant where the purchaser of a property had reasonable assumptions that the property was to be used in, let's say where you've got a non-conforming use, and that's exactly what happened in this particular case, where there's a non-conforming use and the purchaser assumed, after looking at various details, that the property could be used in this use, in the non-conforming use. and due to some other factors in that case, reasonably relied on those factors, then it is not a self-created hardship. And if the board finds that the reasonable reliance on the zoning as set forth in the tax information, which you find on OnGov or whatever, where it says commercial or business, and they were not told that it's really R1A, but they relied on what they saw, the board could find that is excusable.
If I may, as Mr. Baldwin explained, initially we did not know. I learned through the process after our first meeting that it was R1A, and Mr. Baldwin explained what was the difference between what we saw on the tax bill, which is commercial general business.
And when you purchased it, it stated,
It stated commercial, it still does. It still
General
does.
business, commercial.
Yes. On New York GovNet, whatever, it still states commercial general business.
It'd be like turning a Burger King into a residence because they have to be because they changed the zoning after the fact.
One question I have of the board, if any of the members of the board visited the site, I would appreciate it if you could state that for the record.
I have.
I have as well.
Yeah, and I have as well.
Visited it recently, and in the past, I have been in that building several times when I was a daycare.
I have too. I actually just saw it tonight, and it stands out to me is that you visit it and it looks like a commercial. It doesn't look like a single-family house at all, kind of thing. It makes it very unique. You're looking at a structure that's got 3 entrances and a front porch for 3 different spaces, kind of thing. So to me, I'm seeing that visually as a structure that was purchased looking like it would be not for a single residence, That was very...
If it's okay, I'd like to ask the applicants a couple questions. You acquired the property for $210,000.
That's correct.
You, as part of your addendum to the hardship, you're stating that utilizing this property as single-family residence would be an undue financial hardship.
Yes, as what I was explaining, you will need, because inside it doesn't look like residential use.
Right, but in the papers that you, and this is just for the record, in the papers that you gave to the board, you indicate that the new construction cost would be $440,000. Is that correct?
In option A or option B?
Option A. In other words, if you converted this property to single-family use, the construction cost to allow you to do that, to make it a single-family dwelling, would be $440,000.
Just give me a second.
I think that includes demolition of
That'd be
Yeah.
the existing building.
consolidating heating.
That
Well, even
was...
demolition was a little additional, that was 45.
Yeah.
So almost $500,000.
Yes, it's a square footage.
Yes.
It's
But I'm at-
considering the square footage.
Right.
Because it's very large.
You talked to Mr. Gregory Hoover, and you
Yes.
showed him these?
Yes.
And his
Yes, he
letter?
revised all the calculations, and he said that he was surprised that without construction degree, I would say,
Yes.
I was able to calculate such a close amount, because he said some of them are even underestimated.
Right, so he actually looked at your figures
Yes.
and revised
Oh,
some.
I missed that. So who was Gregory Hoover again?
There's a letter from him.
He was the president of New York State President.
Yeah, you have a letter from him.
Oh, okay, good.
And owner of Dallas Homes prior to that.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the letter to read his...
Based on his letter, I think the board can consider that he has verified the figures that are in the addendum, so that they are not made-up figures by the applicant.
thank you for that, because that was a clarification, that I missed in the paperwork, so.
One more question on demo and construction of that 440,000. Is that saying that you'd rebuild a 3,500 square foot home, or what's the square footage to get to the 440,000?
To rebuild, it's, I don't think we can rebuild a 3,500 square foot house for 440,000 right now.
Right, so
It's way higher. No, because in this case, because at that point, I start looking at the zoning regulation as R1A, and the house would be smaller. If it's a complete demolition and rebuilding the new house, we wouldn't be able to rebuild the 3,500 square feet.
Right.
The house should be smaller,
Yeah.
and that's
Right.
why
And the property.
the approximate price of 440, that is going to give you like about 2,000 and something square feet.
The least expensive house in the
One other
village,
question.
and my center right now is
If the variance is
540,000.
granted,
So there's nothing under
If the
540.
variance is granted, you are not going to, other than painting or decorative,
No
you are
footprint.
not going to
We
make,
are not changing footprint whatsoever.
no. What else are you doing to the premises?
Dennis already removed the fence. We're doing the curb appeal. We will be reducing the area, putting more lawn, grading the area, if we're talking about outside. In the back, we will be creating the backyard with more greenery as well, because right now it's practically everything is paved with the asphalt.
Okay, a lot less
So
water
we're
running on the road.
reducing impervious area, so the water is not gonna run as much to the street, it's gonna penetrate, so
Okay,
it's
I
gonna be more green.
think based on that, you may need to go to the planning board for a site plan review if the variance is granted.
Or a site plan.
Yes, so that they can,
To get,
they
to
can
cut down the target, we need to get.
To remove the area?
Well, relative to the, again, I think you need to talk to the codes officer about that, relative to the drainage and,
Well, we're reducing the drainage by adding the greens, because I know usually when some housing, generally speaking, out of my experience of house owner, so when some housing has a green area and the people want to increase the parking lot and asphalts, that it requires actually the site map and approval from the city, from the village, from whatever the community that people live in, because it increases
Right.
the impervious area and the increases drainage of the water to the public gutters. But what we will be doing, it's opposite.
I understand that.
We will be reducing
Yeah, I
the
know,
asphalt.
but what I'm saying is, and again, I think you should talk to the codes officer, because while you're saying that, it's not a matter of record on the site, there's no site plan,
So
just a survey.
we can leave the target? Is
Well,
what you said?
no, I'm just saying that you need to just
I
discuss
mean, we're
that.
reducing the frontage from 50 foot to 20 foot of target to the road, so.
Yeah, but that's a change in the outside of the, you're not changing the building, but you are changing something else. So I would just suggest that you contact them to see whether that is necessary.
Contact
The codes officer.
Okay.
So does that create another delay in, does that create another delay in approval?
I think that the county planning board did speak
Right.
to some of these
They
things that are
did.
in here, so.
There are some other things that need to be done.
But I think they spoke to some of the issues that actually, basically states it's not going to generate any additional stormwater. It's going to provide additional green space. And I'm assuming that's coming from the site plan review that they did. But there wasn't a
Yes,
site plan, that's what I was, that's the other thing I was looking at.
Yes, that's exactly the one this one,
Yes, okay, yes, thank you.
yeah.
And that's what the county reviewed,
Okay.
right?
And you got this.
We have it in the packet.
Community development is working on the Sounders project as well, so, on Daughter County, office, so, but, we've been putting them off, waiting on this so they can make the next move.
Yeah, either
They're
way,
gonna handle the
this,
environmental.
Onondaga County Planning, I know there's been concerns about the delays. This one we just got, but it does have information that they approved of what's going on.
I don't think we have the paper.
You didn't get this?
I don't think so.
I'll provide that, it's gonna be part of it, we'll give you a copy before you.
I'm not sure what.
I got an extra copy.
Okay. So that's the
Oh,
first
yeah,
you've seen it?
we did.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I will need to read it later.
As long as we're talking about with the county, they were recommending on the third page, one. Give me a second.
There is no page number, which one is the third one?
The third page item.
Last page.
It was,
The page
I
with
know
the signature?
they were concerned about the sanitary easement.
Those are conditions that we need to put, if we grant the variance, we need to make it conditional.
Yeah. Right. Because looking at their one drawing, I believe the patio was right over the easement. So,
They talking
Patio
about what
is
is
over
it?
the,
as I'm looking at this,
Uh-huh.
I think the county easement actually jogs back the road at that point.
there's an easement in the back of the property on your survey.
You saying the fence line? The beach following hill?
Yeah.
Yes, that's where the sanitary, the sewer runs back that way, right?
Yeah, so there's an easement there, and it looks like from that, the drawing that you're building over that
Yes, because,
easement.
yes, absolutely, and I would say I will take the blame on it, because it was my unprofessional drawing, this one, so I was trying to put it up visually as much as I could, and as I said, when we're gonna be planning, obviously we're gonna do to precise measure, we're not gonna pave anything over the sanitary lines, that's absolutely absurd, will be to do. It has to be accessible, that's why when we did that, our survey was in process. We did not have a survey yet. I did not have any measurements, so this measurements, what I did, I just took the site map from the Red Grid or something, from the available website, so I could see the lot.
There's no hard surfaces over
Yeah.
over the sanitary.
And
It's all-
yes,
Well,
it is not now, and it will not be,
Okay.
yes.
As long as they're talking about
It's
that,
just for the
that's
visual, I
one
was
thing.
trying to,
Understand, yep,
Yes.
understand.
unfortunately, I'm not a professional designer, so I came up with what I came up with.
I understand, exactly, yep.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
I think I'm good.
All right, motion to close the public hearing?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. So discussion with the board, just, I mean, again, I just want to go back over what, what we're asked to do, for a use variance is again, consider four criteria. Again, will the applicant be deprived of economic use or benefit of the property unless it can be used for the purpose requested? That's one. You want to talk about that now, based on what's going on?
We've talked a lot about it.
We have figures that have been verified by Gregory Hoover on this, right? That we can look at as part of that decision.
Yeah, and again, if we go back to other uses or other commercial uses, they'd be subject to a variance anyway. So, I guess if it was a daycare conversion, either way, it's going to have to go from the R1A it's in now to something else, so.
With their understanding of what they thought the zoning was, I think they are deprived of their economic benefit.
Yeah, and we'll actually get to that in 4, but I think based on, again, what we've seen to get this back to a single-use house, I'm okay, but I want to make sure everybody understands what we're talking about there. We're good with
Yeah.
information.
It's not cost effective for them to pursue.
Correct. That's what I believe.
I agree.
So do we want to discuss that now? Do we want to vote on that right now to say, if, again, I do agree that the economic use of the property, unless it's converted, is not viable. So I think I would agree with that they've
Yeah.
demonstrated
I'd like
that.
the board to, in the resolution, express, or at least express for the record the reasons that you find that.
All right, and again, if we want to go over those reasons, again, I think the current zoning at R1, based on the building construction, the existing facility that's there today, and the improvements that are going to be needed to make based on the estimates provided and validated by a contractor, exceed what the economic benefit of that property is going to get. And there were some other reasons that I wanted to talk about that too.
The adjoining properties are also, they're apartment buildings, right?
That's the next
Well, they're
question.
duplexes.
Duplexes.
That's the next question.
Yeah.
But that would have to do with altering the character of the neighborhood.
Yeah, and then we're going to catch that in the next two, actually. I think it's going to be supported, those next two are supported very easily with the last one I was
Oh,
trying.
yeah, the variance would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, yeah.
And they did state at our last meeting that if they had talked to a daycare and that based on what they would need to charge for rent, the person wasn't willing to pay that much, so that
Yes,
wasn't
we
a
had,
viable option also, although I don't.
That's resolved now, though.
Yeah, but it's, at that time, I think that was a possibility, but it's not now, but that also would not work.
Yeah, and I think, again, I think the appendix that was here supported with the contractors, or the validation from the other folks that could be included in our submittal as a demonstration that the economic use and benefit is not there. So I just recommend we just include that as in our findings.
And their proposed use, their numbers show that will work
Right.
economically.
So let's move on. So we all agree.
Yes.
The hardship created is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the district or the neighborhood.
I'll start that off if you want.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
That particular R1A district is mostly composed of the Baldwin Hill development. And I believe there's about 118 single-family homes in that development. And it is, it's a very consistent look inside the development. Cold Springs Road is also included in that R1A district. The north side of it is what's in the village. It appears to be 3 single-family homes, 4 duplex homes. This property, and I believe there are 2 backyards that are accessed from Ronway that appear to be vacant land. So this part of Cold Springs Road, which is included in that R1A district, is very different from the R1A district. It's just very discordant, there's nothing uniform. And if we even look at the other side of the street, which is not in the village, we've got a church and other homes and vacant land. So this property was the only commercial property in that whole R1A district. So I feel this property is unique and the hardship is unique because it's such a different property than the rest of that R1A district.
Yeah, so again, it is unique, I absolutely agree with them, it does not apply to a substantial portion of the neighborhood or district, is the next part of that, and I think you just described that well, so I would agree with that. Any discussion or consideration there?
I agree.
I agree.
So agrees. Next one is the variance would not alter the essential characteristic of the neighborhood, and this is what we were talking about before. The characteristic of the neighborhood, if we start that off, is basically duplex properties that pre-existed the zoning anyway, so they're all R1. And then you've got this property, and then a couple of residential properties that are there.
And a couple backyards.
And a couple backyards.
It looks like vacant lots.
Yeah, so I don't, in my opinion, the variance is not going to have any change to the essential character of the neighborhood for the reasons just stated. So anything?
The Cold Springs portion of that district is very inconsistent, and even if we look at the other side of Cold Springs Road that is not in the village, that's very inconsistent. When we look at the Baldwin Hill development, everything is consistent in there, but Route 370 is not consistent. So I think using that is the 3-unit apartment will not change the character of the neighborhood. And I think I could even say it would be an enhancement from what it was before with the daycare, because daycares get very busy at drop-off and pickup time, and
Yeah.
a lot of children noise playing outside.
Yeah, definitely there's gonna be reduced traffic based on this use, which is better.
I think it'll enhance, actually.
Right,
rather than-
right. The only comment I have to say is that there were some old trucks in the parking lot the last time I went by. Are they going to remain there?
It's Dennis.
No, I was.
Oh, okay.
He was removing the,
Oh, okay.
he was cleaning the, because the backyard was a little bit overgrown. So Dennis went there with excavator and removed overgrown parts and loaded in the truck,
Okay,
so.
but that'll be only for the residents
Yeah,
then?
Yes,
and
yes,
then-
yes,
Has a license plate on it, it's a commercial
Okay.
truck, it's, yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
I just
He
use
was
those
just,
trucks.
he was just working around to clean the area, because there was lots of debris left from the daycare, because they left a lot of things, so.
We were removing some of the target, now it's so broken, a lot of targets are broken up, so.
It's rained a little too, you know?
Any other discussion there? We all agree that
Agree.
Yes.
no change?
Yes.
And then the fourth one, which was the one that I was struggling with, again, because as Bob mentioned a couple of times, when we're doing area variances, the self-created hardship is not critical to the issue. In a use variance, it is. And Bob was able to provide some information to allow us to understand, you know, was the applicant or is the applicant, were they aware of the zoning? And was there any reasons that they may have not understood it to be the zoning that it was? And certainly based on the tax bill actually indicating that and the prior use, I can understand where there'd be confusion. So I mean, I don't know if there's more discussion you want to have on that.
This is the question I struggle with.
Yeah.
I have an answer probably to your question.
Okay.
So, as you know, I'm a new resident of Baldwinsville, plus I am new in the United States. I'm from Canada, and from Canada we take our zoning from our tax bill. And I wrongly assume that whatever is written on the tax bill, this is it. Because when we start looking at the property, we went on New York site and pulled out the tax bill from the previous owner. And we looked at the zoning, and that's what was written. And that's how we filled our first application with the zoning, and that application was returned by Michelle, and she said that was because Mr. Baldwin as well mentioned that the application, when we fill first application, you will see it, because you have a copy of this first application. It says commercial GB, and then we scratched, and that was determined at the meeting on April 14th. We scratched here in the room, we initialed, because we were explained we couldn't put an application commercial GB because it's R1 zoning. And that's when we learned actually that it's not the zone, the building is not zoned as we thought it is. And of course, after our first meeting, I put a lot of research, how it works here in the United States, how do you do things, how do you zone, where to find information. So now I'm almost an expert.
So the village deemed it commercial, and they charged us $300 for the application
Yeah.
versus
As well.
$150 for the residential.
Yeah, yes, by the way. Yeah.
That's good, man. But again, that was where, again, we were faced with more area variances and use variances, and that was a hard one for us to understand. But I think we have, at least I've got information that supports, that there's practical reasons why you were led to think that, but there are also actually documented reasons. So, other thoughts on that?
I have a question for Bob. Public utility variance, and I think that's more power plants. And with the state mandate for the need for green power, that they use a lower standard for use variance for a public utility. Can we kind of look at that in the context of the governor stating the need for additional housing and affordable housing? Can I kind of read into that a little bit also and look at it more of like a public utility variance test?
Internally, I think you might do that. But I would also point out that the main question, the way I see it is the reliance of the applicant on the zoning as set forth on their tax bill reasonable under the circumstances? And of course, the other ultimate question is whether the detriment to the neighborhood or the detriment to the community is outweighed by the benefit to the applicant. And I think that what the applicants here have talked about is not only the benefit to the applicants, but in one sense, the benefit to the community.
Right. And that's kind of what I was getting at, because I believe the governor said we need more of this.
Yeah.
So
And the county is saying
Yeah.
that.
That's why a direct need.
The problem is you have this conflicting situation. We've got, it's just like when you go into a court of law and somebody has to be proven guilty or innocent. They can be the best person in the world, but that's really not the question. The question is, did they do it or didn't they?
Exactly.
But here, I think you had the ability to determine that that the reliance on the zoning as shown in the tax bill for someone who's not a professional is reasonable.
Further discussion? Okay.
This one is a struggle for me, but I think I can come to Bob's conclusion. Okay. I think I can agree with that.
So I think before, we put up to a vote, I think I know where everybody stands. I think that's it, but I want to be clear about a couple of things. One nit that we didn't talk about again, I wanted to make a motion to declare this an unlisted action for seeker purposes. I think you mentioned that before, so I wanted to make sure we got that into the record. The other thing that I want to understand, and Bob, you may be able to provide some feedback on this, but there are certain conditions. If we vote and we vote in favor of granting the variance, it will be subject to certain conditions. Some of those conditions are going to come from the planning board's actions that were the resolution of the Onondaga County Planning Board that was dated May 21st, 2025, and it's case Z as in zebra -25-155. And the only other thing that I wanted to understand is from a mobility use, for this particular use that the applicant wants is applying for, I'm still unclear. I'm in favor of what's going on, but I'm unclear. Can we make that a condition that we're granting it for that purpose, or should we?
When we bring the design to the building permit, it's obviously going to be clear what it is.
Well, you're talking about coordinating with New York State DOT?
No, I'm actually talking about the fact that when we grant an R2 use, it could be rented out as 3 apartments to anybody.
Yeah, you can make the condition that the variance is for the use of 3 apartments for disabled individuals.
And that's what I was asking. As long as we can make that a condition.
Yes, you can do that.
Complies with the way you want the wording to be.
If I may.
Yeah.
This is also a condition of Onondaga County when we applied to ask them to, what we're looking for is the affordable apartments. And we made that promise to Onondaga County as well. It's affordable apartments for reduced mobility population.
That sounds good.
Well, we want to make sure that the day that if you, in the future, decide you're going to sell it, that the next owners will keep it.
We won't rip out the roll-in showers.
No.
Well, the thing is, variance, there's an expression, variances run with the land.
Yes.
So if the variance is granted, it's not just to you, it's to anybody in the future.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, but I think, So,
Because if they're gonna lose this variance, they're gonna go to R1A.
If they're ADA approved, conditions that they're ADA apartments.
well, but
I just want to
I don't know that that
condition.
needs to be in there, because now you're getting very technical about what it is. It's for the disabled. If they're going to have apartments for the disabled, they've got to comply with the ADA anyway. So I don't,
As I said, ADA is only for
commercial.
non-private, commercial, and public access compliance. However, as I said, our common areas in the back will be ADA compliant, which is no elevations. So that's what we're looking for.
I'm just
I
starting
guess
with
just
term.
maybe for clarification, if, you know, it's 3 units, let's say you rent out 2 of them to somebody with disabilities, but the third remains vacant. I think what we're trying to say is that it doesn't get rented out by somebody who is without disability.
I believe we already have extensive waiting list.
Yeah, I don't know.
Seriously.
Again, I agree with that
Lots
comment.
of people actually approach Venice with, and that's the people whose relatives in a wheelchair.
It probably would not be a comfortable living situation for a person who was not on a walker, was not in a wheelchair. I mean, it's only 2 rooms. It's 2 large rooms with a large open bathroom. You know, it's a pretty open floor plan. I mean, it's really not going to be, in the case as far as people per square foot, there's going to be maybe 3 people in this 3,500 square foot, and there's probably 6 people in the house next door and the next house next door. But,
It's not going to be appealing to a normal family with 3 kids, because there's not going to be
But
3
it might be
bedrooms in
appealing to somebody who is maybe a recent college grad looking for affordable housing.
Also, our arrangement with Onondaga County is a 10-year agreement that we are doing it.
there. Yeah,
Okay,
we're signing with them 10-year agreement, it's minimum.
so that condition locks you into the use. that you're talking
Yes.
And design.
about. Okay. So how do we tie that in?
well, what you can just state that you're granting the variance for a specific use.
But that use is defined in that application for 10 years is what I guess I'm trying to get. But whatever that use is properly defined. Here it says a facility for disabled individuals. That's Onondaga County planning, but you have another.
It's 3 one-bedroom apartments. I mean, they're disabled, disabled living. I mean,
Okay. Well,
We've bounced around disability and reduced mobility.
No, I will
And
insist
I-
once again, reduce mobility. So we have, as I mentioned in my speech, we have to stop saying disabled people can be disabled for many different reasons. I'm talking about reduced mobility because the footprint of the building is perfect for reduced mobility people. Because disability could be mental disability, it could be physical disability, it could be XYZ disability. I'm talking about reduced mobility because those people have a hard time to find housing in Baldwinsville because you guys, I'm really sorry, filled with stairs.
And I'm not.
Stairs to the sky.
We
That's all
could
I
have
see.
Reduced mobility, and that's not necessarily a disability. So
Absolutely.
that's what I'm looking at, you know, I like when they talked about maybe somebody's parents living there, is reduced mobility. And in my mind, that's different from a disability, so I
yeah, I
don't
agree
want
with
to
that. And that's why I think what we should be just tying it back to is whatever agreement that you've got going on with the county that says you're going to build this compliant for this purpose.
Reduced mobility.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I keep insisting, it's a reduced mobility.
Yeah.
That's why it creates the confusion for some people, because here and there we hear disability. Yes, reduced mobility in some some contents that they could be considered as a disability, but we're talking about reduced mobility people, because some people, they can still walk, but they cannot walk extensive.
Plus, the term reduced mobility is sometimes defined in an agreement, so it could mean multiple things, but I think that if you do have that as a condition, that there would be 3 one-bedroom apartments for reduced mobility for occupants, I think that would be sufficient.
Okay. And then in the resolution, you can draft it that way.
Yes.
I think you'll find there won't be a lot of turnover. I think a lot of times, sadly, when somebody comes into a place like this,
They stay.
it's the final.
Because we're not going to be just designing the bathrooms, we're going to be designing a kitchen cabinets that the wheelchair goes under. We're going to be designing a desk or all the furniture that is going to be in that will be accessible with the wheelchair. And you know, it has to be a certain size and a certain height and a certain width. And so we're going to, that's why we are in touch with the Access CNY to help us to design properly with proper measurements.
All right, so I'll put a motion out to the board to vote, on the variance, the granting of the variance. If we vote affirmatively to grant a variance for the property at, I gotta find my paperwork again.
2827?
370, to rezone from the R1A to R2.
Not R2. You're allowing them the use of the one-bedroom apartments. It's the variance, but to allow use of three one-bedroom apartments for reduced mobility occupants.
Okay, thank you, because again, that was what I was starting with earlier. It's like, what are we doing as far as the, so...
Yeah, it's not rezoning.
It's not a rezoning, okay. So the
And
variance is
then I would make
going...
that resolution subject also to the conditions recommended by the Ontario County Planning Board.
Okay. So again, all in favor, based on the Onondaga County conditions and the conditions that the use is for three one-family or single-family mobility accessible houses.
I move to go forward with that.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. You'll draft the resolution.
I'll draft the resolution.
Thank you.
And then I will also send to SACPA the approval notice. Also, we need the resolution that it is, because I don't know that that was actually passed, that it is
Unlisted action.
unlisted action.
Did I not get a vote on that or a second on that?
I don't think there's a vote on that.
Well, just in case, move.
Motion to declare this an unlisted action for seeker.
Yes, move.
Second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I think all the ayes have been dotted. So, all right, put this away and move on to the next agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with the project.
Just for the record, I'm going to be expecting some documents.
Because I think it needs to.
The draft resolution, and basically what that
From Mr.
draft
Holden?
resolution is going to say is, just the condition we beat up in the last 10 minutes, but
Yeah.
also the Onondaga County condition, so.
And just to confirm what Mr. Holden said, whatever I was saying as well, we were not asking for rezoning for the use variance as he suggested at the first meeting.
Right. No, you're right. And that's what the resolution will
Thank you
state.
very much.
Talk to him and see what they need.
All right.
Next on the agenda.
Yep. The next item, if I can find my minutes, I have to go into resolution.
Pictures you might want to pass
Oh, good.
down. You did get it? I don't think I got it.
26 Grove Street,
Pictures?
area variance. You here to speak to that?
I did not. We can take a look together. Sounds good.
I got pictures. You mind giving us your name? Just to... Don? Okay. Hey, Don, how are you? And then you are requesting, what we're gonna do today, just so everybody understands, as we look at this, is with any zoning variance that we've got, we're gonna have a public hearing. Today is an informal hearing, just to listen to what you're trying to do and explain to you. It'll be different than the use variance you just heard here. It's actually going to be some of the same conditions that we need to look at, but next month when you come here, we'll have a public hearing. I'll make a motion on the second to
Yeah, I'm not sure which is.
set a public
so I
hearing for
just
next
decided to
month.
take them all out.
But what I'd like to do with the board here today is if we can get a little foreshadowing into what you're proposing and why, that would be good. So,
Are you the owner of the property?
It's my girlfriend, and I'm
Okay,
representing her.
okay. So Janet Starters,
Yes,
okay,
sorry, boy, yeah.
all right.
all right. Let me just get myself a little bit better organized on this one.
Who's Donald Wilcox? Donald Wilcox.
That's me.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Hi, Mr. Wilcox.
Donald is here, and what we're
Okay.
going to do is he's going to explain, if he can, with some of the pictures and other things, what, what he's proposing to present next month. And again, what we'll be looking for next month is, again, certain factors, whether there's an undesirable change or being produced in the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. That's one of the criteria we're going to look at. Whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance. So in other words, if some other way can do this. Whether the request for the variance is substantial, and again, that can be defined in a number of different ways. We can help you through that if you need to. And would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood? So those are the things that we're going to be looking at, or looking for you to demonstrate to us,
Right.
so that we can actually have a vote and determine what's going on. So what are you doing?
Well, obviously, you know that there's a carport there.
Yep.
Is this a completed structure?
Well, I'd like to put sides on it.
Okay.
Oh, this is, you constructed this already. Okay.
It's already existing.
Oh, this is a building permit.
And the building permit was from January.
February, March, yeah.
Okay, so you constructed this carport and then was too close to the property line, or what's going on?
Yeah, it's a neighbor complained that you have 5-foot setback. It's on a driveway, it's been there forever, So it's not like it's going over the footprint of the property, There was already a foundation there for a garage that had been there prior, but many years ago.
Do you know when the garage was taken down?
No, I think at least 50 years ago.
Did you say
A slab of concrete
50?
or is it actual foundation?
Whether it's an actual foundation.
50? 50.
Yeah. All right.
It's currently 1 foot from the property line?
Yes.
Does that include the overhang, sir? If you-
Yeah.
That's 1 foot from your,
Yeah, there's really no overhang off the edge of the thing there.
All right. Do you happen to have a survey map that shows what's going on here?
There is one.
Yeah, I had,
That's what I want to keep. Yeah, I want to see an up-to-date one if we could, but is that, so this is where the old foundation was on this,
right.
this plat. That shows 2 feet plus off the property line. What do you need? You need 5 feet
5
right
feet.
there? Okay.
And currently, is it 1 foot from the property line?
Well, that's it, the thing says 2 foot actually, but
Yeah, the survey map shows 2 feet to whatever was there in 1966. If this is on the same footprint, then it may be a foot off, but then the overhang, like Peg said, is probably going to put it within 6 inches of the property line.
Has Janet been in the house for,
She's owned it since 1966.
okay.
Okay. Did you say there was a garage there before?
Yes, before her husband at the time, he fixed it before she moved in, and so she don't know about it was there, he tore it down.
Okay.
And you said that was like 50 years ago that it was removed?
Well, back in 65 or 66, so it's more than 50 years.
That's
Yeah.
70 years.
70, yeah.
And I remember.
Yeah.
What is the size of the carport? I thought I saw that somewhere.
20 by 25. Not a- In order to make it a 5-foot setback, it had been an awful small carport for 2 cars,
It's 20 by 25 currently. This,
20 by 25, yes.
I'm gonna take a survey, give it to the survey expert. Does this, oh, he's got
it was
it.
originally
yeah, yeah,
18
yeah.
by,
What is the size of the concrete slab? Is that 18 by 42? Am I reading that right?
That's what I see, 18 by 42.5.
Yeah, but I measured it was 20. That's when I give them the thing for the carport, 20 by, 42 is out to the road,
Oh,
or 43 is out to the road.
What?
They go past the house.
So, what's the significance of this fence? I mean, or what am I looking at? The lot looks like it's 50 feet wide, or,
Right, but that goes along the side of the driveway.
so this is the property line between you and the neighbor here?
Now, the property line,
Is over here.
for that side, yes, but for the other side, on
think we're-
the other side of
this
the
one too.
driveway.
So what's this, so this was just kind of a decorative fence? This one between,
Yeah, and it keeps the dog in, but
oh, I got you, okay, because I look at it almost like a property line. I was just trying to figure out what was going on. So this is the neighbor, this is the property line where the trees are that you're too close to over here.
Yes.
right, yeah, that's the purpose that I wanted to put there, because all those pine needles were coming down on the car, and the sap ruining the car.
There's a fence there, is that right? A fence
There's a fence there to keep the dog
Yeah.
outside.
on this
Yeah,
side?
this is fence,
This thing.
that's all, you
No.
got that all
I
covered.
think that's what Kevin's asking.
Vines, so you can't even see the fence,
Yeah.
really.
Whose fence is that?
That's the neighbors. And I always have to trim them just so they don't go out in the driveway.
All right, so here's another one. I've got the elevation of this, this is the back portion of it,
Yes,
where that old garage was.
right.
That's sitting 2 feet off the ground, roughly, or?
Yeah, I think it's a little more than 2 feet back there.
You guys see that? Everybody see that? What's going on with that? I just want you to, I want to put, but my first thought was with a pole barn,
right.
it's just move it. But
It's a foundation.
there's a pretty significant elevation.
We can't move that? Yeah, it'd be a quite a task, to get another footer.
So
and-
if this was a little bit.
Would you
this
have
big,
to move the
just
driveway?
Slide it over.
Yeah, you would have to move, you'd
is
have
this
to
his or is this the neighbor?
move the driveway so
This
you
is
can
his
get
yard.
both cars back.
All of this.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, if
And
you
so
move
this is
that,
the
you'd be
Yeah,
moving it
yeah.
off the
neighbor side
driveway.
in question.
Right.
Yeah, you move
Yeah.
it, you see what I'm seeing right there? Because I think the problem I was having first was if I looked at this picture, this one that's just kind of showing the snow and everything else, it looks like everything's kind of at grade. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, just move the.
Yeah, that's
move
why
it over.
that's why I wanted to show that
Yeah,
picture.
yeah, I know, I was trying to figure that out earlier, what this one was, but that's the slab. And the back part is, 2+ feet So what I'm thinking, that has to be the old foundation.
It's a foundation,
Right.
yeah, it's a slab.
Help me out, Professor.
Yeah, well, it would be very expensive.
It would be very expensive, but it also represents the old garage.
Yeah.
So there was a structure there that's still there.
And
Is
it's
this
just-
your backyard too?
And this is a new structure on
On
top.
top of the old foundation,
Is this your property as well?
on the footprint of the same foundation. Anything?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is,
To, like over here?
I mean,
yeah, over here.
non-zoning perspective, I'm thinking.
And this is this side of the driveway. And then-
Okay.
If the old garage was still there, it would be a non-conforming use.
So what if the old garage fell down? I mean, I'm just asking a question, I don't know, it's just,
Does she put up for the dog?
Where's the neighbor?
Yeah.
Okay.
well, no, we're definitely, yeah.
Let her last time.
That's a big one.
What's their big variance? The bar is
Works
much
fine,
lower.
good for our dog, I've got little sheets, we got little sheets.
No, understood, but I just, at first I was like, just move it. But now with that foundation,
Right.
you just can't do it, I think.
Now, did you have this poured or was this existing?
That was existing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the driveway that we were always parking. There's where the cars would be. Anyway,
It's really
we
good to
outlets were.
take 4 feet out of that garage, right, like for its width.
Right.
Like it really needs,
Because
because I'm looking at the
two-car garages are what,
24.
24.
Yeah,
This is 20.
21?
It's only 20.
Yeah, just under 21.
Is this your property too, this?
Yeah,
The left
that's my
side?
shed behind there, yes. But that's a ways back.
And what was the neighbor complained that it was too close to the property line, is that?
I mean, because she just put up a garage too, but
The neighbor did?
yes. And she's trying to say hers is 5 foot. I don't think hers is actually 5 foot. She said she had to put, make hers a 5 foot setback, that's, but I don't really think it's hers, but I don't think it's bothering anybody. And I don't see how this is gonna bother anybody, but.
If I look at this picture,
Yep,
the trees, I forget,
yeah, the trees are right there on the boundary.
and so those are the neighbor's
They're the
trees.
neighbor's trees, right?
Correct. There
How
you go.
far
That's how it's
forward does the
Right?
garage go?
So this is a non-issue.
You know,
Yeah,
it's- yeah.
right, there's 3 trees, there's one that's just a couple feet back from where this.
I think, oh no, that's the.
Yeah, right here.
I haven't gone down the driveway and looked yet, I looked and saw that it was there, but I don't know the logistics.
Yeah, this is probably, the last tree, last pine tree, there's more trees anyway, but she got a lot of trees in her driveway. And, right on the boundary line.
With the building permit, when the building permit was granted, it just has a description of a 25 foot by 21 by 7 foot, 7 foot high
Semi-high.
setback. Oh, maintain side yard setback a minimum 5 feet. So the permit was granted with pretty clear instructions to be 5 feet inside the property. Let's see what the application I was saying, what went wrong there, but.
Did the code enforcement officer come to your property when granting the,
I'm not sure if he did or not. Did he come?
We did.
okay.
I think,
So I mean, if he came, like Michelle said he did, and he saw this,
well, that may have been when he said you need a variance. I don't know, oh, you said that was, yeah,
I asked him if I need variance, and they said,
you're okay,
here's you've got your permit.
okay.
That was after, when he saw it, something cold. He went to the property and it wasn't 5 foot from the property line.
Okay.
I know he had that survey beforehand too, though.
give them a green light to start.
Well, what I'm just wondering, when you look at, I would like to see an updated survey. I'd like to see how far off the property line you are, if we could see that. And then the other thing I would like to understand, if you when you come to the board next month, is I would like to have a clear understanding of, from your perspective, if you had to move this,
Right.
what's the estimated cost for that? And I just don't know, I would just like to understand it. I don't know that it's, but if this is the existing foundation from the old garage, I'd like to understand that that's what it is, and in order to have this thing sit on top of that, what would it take to move that over? Because I do get the understanding, I mean, it's not oversized from a two-car perspective, that's, but the lot itself has room. I mean, my first instinct was move it over, you got plenty of room in that lot. But I think that the issue is that.
Yeah, it'd be, because of it being a slope,
Right, and well, because that would be a lot of
Does that
concrete work.
slope go all the way? Or is
Goes
it
from 0 to that, right?
Right, and then it goes further back,
Right.
lower as you go, yes.
if it's more level up here, it could pull off?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, is if
If you'd
it's
like ramp it down or something like that, but,
But in order to move it over sideways, you'd have to build another footer and all that.
yeah.
Retaining wall and pouring more concrete or more.
I guess if we could, I would want to see a survey map of seeing exactly where you are, because we've gotten into these before, and I don't think you're getting a 5 feet based on what I'm seeing with the survey, but, I think it may be less significant if we understood where the property line, maybe more. We may find out it's over the property line. I don't think so based on the survey map, but I'd like to understand that when you're coming to the board for the variance, to say, this is what I need. I need the variance of 2 or 3 feet or whatever it's going to be. And I think the reasons are more than just, I think they tie into the fact that the old garage, that foundation on the side closest to your neighbor, is this on that same foundation?
Yes.
Okay. So, I don't know, does anybody else see anything else? I mean, because what basically we're going to do is, if we have the public hearing, and the only person that may be here to say something will be your neighbor.
Yeah.
But I would like to have it clear from you that there's a significant cost in moving that, and it was based on where the old garage was. I think that's a more compelling story for us to at least consider.
If we could get details on the overhang too, just to be more specific. This, I'm assuming, is where your 1 foot is.
Yeah.
The overhang is going to increase that. So we need to have all those details so we can make a more educated assumption.
Or determination.
Or determination.
Right.
I'd like to know where that fence is in relation to the property owner.
So the survey map should show us that.
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's one thing I'd like to see, if you could provide a survey map, is that's something that we could have, a current one, that shows where this is, where the fence is, where the property line is, and this improvements in relation to that. And if we could get that, and you're still good with this, I'll make a motion to have a public hearing for next month, if that's something that you can do.
Yeah, so I'd have to get somebody.
Just to do a survey.
Yes.
Can you do that in a month?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, if we can do that in a month.
And just to confirm that this isn't the final structure, that you're going to be putting walls up as well?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, we need to know that.
Yeah, the building permit was for a carport, so was it a carport with walls? I mean, I think of a carport.
This is
I
a
mean, I
carport.
can leave it like, I don't have to have the walls, but I would like to have walls on it.
What were you assuming when you came in to get this permit?
Huh?
That you were assuming there were going to be walls on it, right? Or no?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I don't know what kind of walls. I guess if you came in and told us, if they're not,
no, it's just gonna be sheet metal.
yeah, okay.
It's not like it's gonna add
Any depth or width.
width.
The issue is, that's where, we've got the 5 feet, now we're at 1 foot, And if you put sheet metal on it, it could add to it. Again, we'll determine what the overhang is.
A wash. This is probably too close this way, like the fence.
Right. Yeah, that's why I'd like to know where the thing is. So if we could if you get a survey map, you can find out what it is. Talk to Michelle, if you can get that done, then we can schedule it. But I would, just schedule or make a motion for scheduling a public hearing for the applicant once we get the survey map that shows where this is in relationship to the property line today. And then we can consider the application. Is that all right?
Okay.
Anything else,
Let me
guys?
just get this straight. You're going to have a motion to have a public hearing?
Right.
Of course, we got to notice that.
Exactly.
Contingent
But they're
upon
gonna wait until
survey.
they get the survey map. So it might not be next month.
Yeah.
Well, no, so so we'll just have to wait.
Until.
So he knows when to get that survey. If he can get it,
I think it might be easier, well, I don't know, I'll leave it to you, but it makes it kind of complicated with the public hearing notice, because you're not really
No.
setting the public hearing tonight. It might be better to set that tonight and then adjourn it if necessary.
okay, that's fine. I mean, I think that does get it moving, and I think that's
Yes.
the point, because it would be the same thing we just had happen with the
Yeah.
other applicant. We just had to delay it. So I think we are better off putting that in motion. So I'll make a motion for scheduling a public hearing for this applicant for next month. So
You- Second?
actually, I need a motion.
I'll make the motion, but you second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So we'll see whenever you're ready.
We're not trying to make it complicated, we just want to make sure that it's exact.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
again, I think I would like to know roughly too, if you can. I have an idea. I don't
You
know.
can have no.
Okay.
Just to say, what would be the big moving, because
You got it.
that's pretty significant, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. We have a motion to close.
Before we do that, food truck law pass. Before we do the closing, the food truck law pass.
Oh, good.
Thursday, so that's done.
Nice job.
The Baker Act.
This is the Baker Act.
Number 2, the Baker Act, second Baker Act, yeah.
All right, I need a motion to adjourn. We're good.
I'll make a motion to
Michelle said-
adjourn.
Second?
All right,
Peg made the motion.
to adjourn.
Thank you.
Are you guys
Thank you.
in a line that we adjourn the meeting?
No, I think we should stay.
No, that's.